Before this video starts, I'm just letting you know that when I say that there is no speedrun.com leaderboard, that is now outdated, as there is now a new leaderboard for the game. Anyways, enjoy. If you've ever tried playing King of Math before, you know it's an incredibly tough game. Even on the easiest setting, getting through the whole game is pretty tough. But to actually beat it, well, just get all the questions right. But for a small group of speedrunners, they take the game to a whole nother level. They try their best to beat King of Math as fast as physically possible. King of Math speedruns requires near perfection from start to finish. And throughout nearly 3 hours of gameplay of runs, and nearly 4 years of history, people have taken the record to really incredible feats. This is the history of King of Math World Records. Now first off, there's a few things to talk about. King of Math's release date is unknown, but it could have been released between 2017 to 2018. But in the early days for King of Math, it was way different. See, King of Math now has 24 levels. But for the early King of Math version, it only had 16 levels. Another major thing is that there is no speedrun leaderboard on speedrun.com. But thankfully, one person was able to both make a leaderboard graph, and upload videos that have never been uploaded onto YouTube. And this person's name was Darked. Darked has become one of the most well-known runners in the game, setting numerous records in categories such as all upgrades and bare bones. He's also been able to upload his, and other people's runs. So, let's get started. The first run came on February 4, 2019. King of Math, completed in 28 minutes and 16 seconds, done by none other than the prolific King of Math speedrunner, Darked. Now, Darked expected to get questions wrong, a lot. It's just not possible to get all questions right, unless you're going slowly and take your time to solve the question. But he didn't have to do that in the first level, where he used the spear to easily kill enemies, the starting weapon for the game. The same thing happened in level 2, although he had to be quick with the wolves, which are faster than normal zombies. After each level, an upgrade shop appears, and you can buy weapons to kill zombies quicker. The first upgrade was the crossbow, which shoots faster and kills faster. There's not really much to say for most levels, such as level 4. So I'll cover some of the levels. But in level 5, he upgraded to the shotgun, which does incredibly high damage. Take a look for yourself. The shotgun is incredibly strong, with 2 shotting most enemies. Level 5 also includes new types of zombies, tank zombies, but they only take 3 shots, not 2 shots. At the end of level 7, he upgraded to the cannon. It does the same damage as the shotgun, but is used for extra protection. Next up was level 12, it this time contains a boss fight, the Wizard. Normally, killing the Wizard takes a significant amount of time to kill, and all you have to do is kill him and you finish the level. But with very fast shooting, and the combination of large damage from the cannon, you can do this to the Wizard. It only takes up 5 seconds to kill the Wizard if you're fast enough, and you can kill him as little as 4 shots. But after level 12, it becomes way more longer. It's time for the after 12 stages. The after 12 stages, or the near endgame stages, contains larger amounts of zombies. They add up to make each level from near endgame to endgame, roughly a minute to a minute and a half. But the stages aren't interesting themselves. Yes, they do contain new enemies, but they're just variations. But the endgame is the most important part. The last 6 stages of the game contains a horde of tanks, and some normal enemies. Darked's endgame was okay, with slowing down a tiny bit, and then came level 24, the game's final level. The final boss, nicknamed the Robeman, is just like the wizard. You can kill the Robeman as little as 5 shots, incredibly short for a boss. After killing him, you wait some time, and the run is complete. Now still, the run wasn't great, he still got a lot of questions incorrect. But it would still stand for over 4 months. The record would stand for 4 months, but on June 23, 2019, Dark would once again get another attempt going. The run started mediocre, with losing 2.7 seconds in level 1. But in level 2, he saved 3 seconds, which was ahead of his time. But just as it got good, it got better, with Dark saving 11 seconds in level 3. Going into level 7, he was half a minute ahead, but sadly, a bad level 7 lost him a second. Thankfully, he was able to climb back up, with now being 34 seconds ahead of the record. He saved 41 seconds in level 9, but with a bad level 10, he was now 37 seconds ahead. But going into level 12, he was 41.1 seconds ahead of his time, and thanks to a great boss fight in that stage, he was able to save another 0.4 seconds. Going into the last 6 stages, he had amassed a 52-second lead, way ahead of the record. The rest of Darked's run was up and down, gaining a nice 5 seconds in level 18, then going on to a minute lead. But the last 4 stages easily derailed Darked's run. The final time would be a 27:24, a nice record improvement. But yet, the endgame went horribly wrong. And combined with the horrible boss fight he'd gotten, Dark had a lot of time on his hands to save. The record was big, yes, but there was around half a minute of time saved. So, Dark continued to play, but then, nearly a year later, someone new appeared. In early 2020, a new runner would start to get really close personal bests. Their name was 11012. And almost immediately, they were able to get in second place. He was only a minute behind, but had a lot of time on his hands. But right on cue, a person would up him. Now in third place, 11012 had to do something to get a chance to get the record. So on January 12, 2020, 11012 would get on this run. 11012 would start pretty small, with losing a second in the first level. But in level 2, he tied Darked's 127 split. And guess what? He got a great level 3, and although splitting early, he was in reality 4 seconds ahead of the record. Sadly, in level 5, he couldn't afford enough money to buy the shotgun, and because of that, he lost 23 seconds. The time loss hurt, but 11012 still had some time to save. And 11012 slowed save time, now being 14 seconds behind instead of 23. Throughout the next few stages, 11012 proceeded to shave off more seconds until he was ahead. Well, 11012 was now ahead, not by that much, but he was on world record pace. He kept the 4-second pace into level 15 and 16, until level 17, when he saved an unbelievable 13 seconds. And going into the endgame stages, he was 14 seconds ahead of the world record. And then, came level 21. a massive time saved from 11:012. If he could just play great throughout the next few stages, the record was his. And sure enough, in level 22, he saved another 10 seconds. And 11:012 would proceed to save another 15 seconds, now being 56 seconds ahead of the world record. And thanks to the 56-second time save, he beat the world record with a 26:26. It was an incredible time, so that's why it stood for nearly 4 months. 11:012 got his new record, but more people were focused on getting a record. And about 4 months later, a brand new runner got a brand new record. Let me introduce you to Edarrainment. Edarrainment was a well-known educational game speedrunner. He got the record in many of the games in mathgames.com, where King of Math is. It would make sense if he tried King of Math one day. Sure enough, on May 25, 2020, he got a 26-13. The major roadblock in this run is that he was facing against the 27-24 splits, so if he was ahead, he could have been actually behind. But his most important run yet came just 6 days later. Now he wasn't able to get the shotgun fast enough, so the run was already jump-started to a 19-second deficit. But Edarrainment just pushed forward, and just as it seemed hopeless, it became incredible. And unbelievably, his entire chunk of time loss went from 19 seconds to just 3 seconds. Despite the levels after level 14 being up and down, he just suddenly saved 8 seconds in level 20. And then 16 seconds in 21. What happened? Well, Edarrainment's 26-13 wasn't the greatest. He messed up a ton in those 2 levels and really didn't do well. So, he weaponized that time loss to save a bunch of time there. And thanks to that alone, he got a brand new world record, the first sub-26 in the game with a 25:56. This was incredible, 2 runs from the same guy in the span of just 5 days, which had never happened before. These runs showed the true potential for the game. They were both great, so it was left there as the record, once again, for a long time. Later on, a new runner named Man Named Guy would get a time of 25:48. It didn't have splits, so we don't know if he was behind or ahead throughout the whole run. But just 3 months after Manamagai's run, 11:012 came back. And he would get on this run. Now, despite the 25:48 being great, it's suspected of being played by a cheater, so for the sake of this, we will be looking at the 25-56 and this run splits. The start was already boosted to a 12-second time save. For the next few stages, he then got the shotgun earlier than Dark, so he was able to get to a 29-second lead. Despite being up and down all around, he was still able to hold on a 50-second lead going into the endgame stages. This was going to be tough. Sure, a 50-second lead is still a pretty considerable time save, but think about everything that could happen. He could just suddenly lose 10 full seconds. Thankfully, that's not what happened. He actually saved a few tenths. He crawled up to a 52-second lead, then lost 10 seconds in the preceding 2 stages. But then, with all of the expertise in his skill, he pulled forward, eventually pulling him to a 55.9-second lead. This actually had potential for the first sub-25 in the game's history. All had to happen was to just do good on the final boss. But then, it was still a record, but just one level derailed 11:012's entire chance to get a sub-25. A 24-minute time could have been incredible, something that would be a game-changer to the game. But just one simple mistake on the boss cost him that. So, he just left his record there after that. 11:012's run would stand for the remaining year of 2021. But just one full year after the record, Dark made a return. Despite the massive time loss in the end, this still wasn't going to be easy for Dark. But it didn't matter to him, he just pushed forward. And on September 14, 2022, Dark would get on this run. This was incredible. He had a small lead, and into level 13 he was 4 seconds ahead of record, a chance for sub 25. But then, after level 12, things suddenly went downhill. He actually started losing time for the next few stages. Level 13 wasn't great, so he lost 2 seconds. Level 14 was when things went horribly wrong, and he lost nearly a second. But you'd think saving 0.8 seconds would be easy, it's only milliseconds. Well, you're wrong. He would go on to lose an entire second for the next 3 stages. So, Dark had one last thing to do, just try his best to save time. 7 more stages to go.
This was an incredible lead for me. 8 seconds ahead on pace to get sub 25. But then I lost time. Just in time in level 22. I needed to save like 4 seconds to have potential for sub 25. This was scary.
Losing time in level 22 was bad, but saving 4 seconds in just 2 levels? That's tough. So, with the time loss put against him, and the really slim chance of him actually getting sub 25, this looked like a lost cause. But Dark continued.
Just barely a sub 25. Just barely. Soon as I made that one mistake at the final boss, I thought it was over. But I had just gotten the first 24-minute time in the game.
Sure, 4 seconds does seem small in a game like King of Math, but this speedrun was legendary. A sub 25 was just crazy. So it remained for the rest of 2022. Going into 2023, there wasn't any major activity. I mean, sure, on June Dark got a time of 24:30 with a newly discovered glitch, but that was in a completely different subcategory. There wasn't any major things happening on the leaderboards for over 6 months. But June came, and Dark made his new return back to King of Math any percent. Saving time now could be tough, but he wanted to save big amounts of time, unlike the 24:59.
I think I went for it since I just wanted to see how low I could go in one go, honestly. It didn't matter if small or big, I just wanted a somewhat decent run.
Obviously all runs start with a time loss, as he lost a second in the first level.
I think my goal in the run was to get the weapons as early as possible, and I did actually get them really early. So, I did still lose time in level 2, but I wanted to see if I could gain time in level 3. And I gained 11 seconds. I was looking good here. From levels 4 and 10, I just kept on gaining time, no stops. It ultimately led to an incredible 18-second lead. This run was just like a fire. It couldn't stop gaining time, and when I lost time, it was so tiny it didn't matter.
Dark had a half-minute lead, something that never happened before in literal years. But it couldn't even catch one break, it never stopped, repeatedly gaining time. But you'd think things would go wrong, but no. Level 22 would do something never seen in years. A 1-minute time save in level 22. If he just kept this pace, it would be the first minute time save from the record in the history of King of Math. This also could be the largest cut off the record in over 3 years, back when the run was nearly 2 minutes slower. So, one last thing Dark had to do, was hold it together, and he could possibly get a sub 24.
I just had one more stage to go. It was such an incredible run. I don't think something like this will ever happen again.
The 23:53 is the current record today, and it stands as a reminder as the impossible can be possible. A sub 23 was thought to be impossible, 24-minute runs only lasted one single run. But still, despite this, Dark still has high hopes that even bigger runs will appear. He agrees that one day, there just might be a sub 23 run, and I can see it in the near future too. That being said, 22 minutes will be tough to get, but I don't see it being impossible one day. King of Math speedruns are still tough, obviously, you still need a simple skill set needed, such as precise timing, quick reactions, and many of the above. And with all of that included, these runners pushed the game into incredible feats. This was the history of King of Math World Records. Thanks for watching.